Welcome to Crossing Streams. My name is Dennis Rooney.
I'm Steve McDonald.
Casey Aurora.
This week we're going to be talking about a little Canadian horror movie called Pontypool, directed by Bruce McDonald and written by Tony Burgess. The script was written by Tony Burgess, and the movie is based off a novel of a similar name, Pontypool Changes Everything. This movie, if I had to say what it was about, I would say it is a zombie movie, kind of.
Yeah,
and I don't consider that a spoiler.
It's not quite a zombie. I mean, I guess it's an infection movie.
It's a horror movie, I guess.
It's a horror. It's a thriller horror.
It's a thriller. So it's set in the basement of a church at a radio station. Mm-hmm. This guy, he's kind of a shock jock, Grant Mazzy. He's been let go from his other better job in a big city, it would seem like. This is all kind of alluded to. And now he's stuck at this terrible job at the basement of a church.
This rinky-dink little place.
Yeah, little town doing bus cancellations and school closings and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
basic news radio.
Basic news radio for small towns in rural Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes into work like any other day, not happy with life, kind of not trying to get along in this new workplace.
Mm-hmm. Trying to ruffle some feathers.
This guy is all about kind of exposing... Bit of a conspiracy theorist.
But how many rough feathers can you ruffle when you're doing like basic news? You know what I mean?
I mean, he's trying.
Yeah,
he does
he's trying.
He's
trying.
He tries to ruffle it. He tries to ruffle as many feathers as physically possible.
Yeah.
For Pontypool,
the Pontypool
for all
community,
600 Pontypool residents.
Yes.
They don't really get into that of how many people live. In Pontypool.
You just assume that.
Tiny.
Yeah, you assume it's a triple-digit town.
Well, they talk about how small town gossip and like. He's going up there and talking crazy talk on news radio, and his sidekick, I forget her name now, not Laurel Ann, the other one. She's like, it's a small town. People do that already.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes in, starts doing the news like any other day, and they start getting reports in town of like a possible riot, people acting strange, people acting like animals, and we hear how this unfolds from the basement of a church through a small news radio station.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't want to say too much more. I think I definitely, my vote, stream it. Stream it today, stream it again tomorrow, and then wait 6 months and stream it again.
You'd suggested this movie to me a long time ago.
Yes,
and
but
then
you never watched it.
I never watched it, and I was just like, okay. And then I had to now. And it was, I kind of wish I just refused to do it again. I wish I had said no.
You wish you had never watched this movie.
Yeah, I wish I kind of told you I watched the movie. And
it was a waste of an hour and 38 minutes.
Hour and 36. I kept count.
So
I kept
stream it? So
no,
stream it?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I would say stream it. I don't know whether it's worth. This is my thing is I'm not a big horror movie fan. But I liked this movie.
Forget the genre. It's just a bad movie.
This is a genre.
No,
well, first of all,
this. That's. I mean, my opinion is that it's a very good movie for reasons that I'll get into later on. But I kind of like it as a filmmaker more than a fan.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a really good movie.
It's a really slick B movie.
It's
like the top of the B movie.
No, it's like to me, it's a very slick B movie. So I would say stream it. And make your own decision on it. But I also could understand if you started streaming it and then you got like 45 minutes in and you were like, I'm not doing this.
No, this is the problem. It's a B movie that tries to be A. Stay in your lane. That's what I think it is.
Stay in your lane. You never made a movie in your life. This movie's fantastic. Stream it.
I'm going to say that's what I would do. If you're going to try to be an A movie, then don't. Like just stick to your B quality.
All right, we'll get into what made it such a B movie now in a minute. We're going to so no spoilers.
Yeah.
We'll see you in a second. Go watch it and then make the decision
or
yourself.
don't.
And then come back and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
For your safety, please avoid contact with close family members and refrain from the following. All terms of endearment.
Sydney? Yeah, Bob, what's up?
Talk with young children. And rhetorical discourse. For greater safety, please avoid the English language. Please do not translate this message.
What'd you think? Casey was wrong, right? What a great film. I love that
Absolutely
movie
not.
so much, man.
Listen, the only redeemable factor is the acting. The people in the movie are good
Something
actors.
that makes up like 80% of a film.
Yeah, but that's not. It doesn't mean you could be working with a garbage script and a silly idea. Like it's very 1984. Okay, like I wish
1984.
Isn't that the movie where like the aliens are attacking and it's on the radio and then they're like,
No, you're thinking of, and you know what? It's very interesting you bring that up because this was extremely influenced by that. That's Orson Welles'
War of the Worlds?
War of the Worlds.
Okay,
yes, when
yeah.
they come down, and that was introduced as a radio play, and they
Yes.
actually made two versions. Obviously, this movie is radio heavy,
Yes.
and so much of it is dialogue driven. I mean, for a zombie movie, quote unquote, there's not that much blood.
Well, no,
going
and that's
on,
what
you know?
that's what I was mentioning before. Is that like as a filmmaker, there's something about the movie that I love, and it's that they managed to make this really dramatic, crazy action. Like it feels action heavy in a lot of ways, and there's like no action in it. And
Yeah,
that's what I think I
very
love about it
little.
is that they talk about they make you feel like there's a lot of action going on.
Yeah, but
which
one
is like
zombie
a brilliant
fight.
filmmaker thing.
There's only one zombie fight, and it basically happens off screen, although it's pretty horrifying.
Yeah, but that's like, I mean,
feel.
then you introduce one of the main characters, Laurel Ann. She's like,
Yes.
I guess, an assistant producer.
Hometown hero.
Yeah, she was in
Former
Afghanistan.
military.
She's
yes.
the engineer.
She's the engineer. So she's pushing buttons, and she gets infected by the disease or what have you. And I mean, it's interesting the concept of how the disease is spread. It's spread by language.
Okay, so you don't have a huge problem with that.
No. It's interesting.
You're suspending
I didn't say it was good. All right, interesting and good are
Okay.
two different
See,
things.
that was what we consistently thought you were gonna have a huge problem with. Was that you were gonna be like fucking
Disease
it's
through words. That's
disease through
bullshit.
words.
No, like I said, it's an interesting idea, just not good.
So it's through language. I haven't seen the movie, so
Yeah,
It's a
through-
virus that
through-
transmits through language.
Yes, certain words trigger the.
They say they
and
get
it's-
at one
trigger warnings.
Yeah, there's like like certain words that cause you to like fall into like
yeah, but
this
it doesn't.
spell.
It doesn't work for everyone though. It's like
No.
an actual virus. Like some people are more susceptible to the flu, and other people aren't. You know what I mean? They say at one point they're doing their radio spiel, and they get cut in through with the French. The French government cuts in, military cuts
Yes.
in, tells them to avoid terms of endearment, the English language, and rhetorical discourse. Like they want everyone to shut up because that's how.
And
this
don't
whole
speak
thing
in
is spread.
English.
Don't
'Cause
speak in English.
the virus only spreads through in the English language,
Yeah.
which is really just a dig at English. Really,
don't
I
think
mean,
so.
it is. It's kind
I
of
don't
like
think so.
get your Canadian
American
agenda
movie.
out of here. You know,
Canadian agenda.
it's this
Canadian
French
agenda.
Canadian
What the-
agenda
what are you
about how
talking
the
about?
language.
I
you
do
know,
think that it is funny that it's Canadian, and then they're like, and then it's essentially just a bunch of people being like, if you speak English, you'll die.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's bullshit. It's absolute
It's very
nonsense
Quebec,
for that.
very Quebec,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, hey, listen, French is so much better. Like, oh, come on.
You really think that's
Yeah,
what this movie
I
is?
think
French
it's-
was so much
I don't
better.
think that's what this movie was about.
It's a slight dig at English. And you know what? If English has been poisoning people's minds, so be it, yo.
Maybe it's because the writer was from Canada and he
Yeah,
was
that's
writing about being in Canada, and most people in Canada speak English. Casey.
Do most people speak English in
Yeah.
Canada?
Yeah, everyone
do.
speaks English. It's just that a lot of people will.
Maybe it's
some
like
places they prefer
It's a French agenda for more people to speak French in Canada.
I can't believe you're spouting this bullshit
you know,
right
I'm gonna
now.
s-
that
you know-
this movie takes shots.
I'm just
at
gonna
the
I'm just
English-
gonna go. I mean, like you're managing to put together a conspiracy much in the same way that the
Yeah, what are you,
main
Grant
character-
Mazzy?
Like you're
It's
Grant Mazzy right now.
the main character, and I think that this
You're
whole,
Grant Mazzy with not nearly as good of a voice.
if you guys want to just dig at me, that's fine. But this movie is
All right,
kind of
so
boring
what did
and
you not
annoying.
like about this movie then? Besides the fact that it's a dig at the English language.
It's silly. Like, it's just that whole spreading. I mean, it's an interesting concept. I just don't think it's good. That through language, that this virus, which turns people into zombies, spreads, and then they
So
start.
this is flawed from the start. Forget execution. If you saw this on paper, you'd be like, "This is a dumb idea."
Yeah, it's interesting, but it's not good.
See, this is the reason why I think it. I have a hard time swallowing the entire that whole thing.
Everything you just said.
Everything you just said
Yeah.
makes total sense to me. In that, it's hard for me to internalize like the it spreads through language, that whole thing.
Yeah.
At the same time, it generated one of the creepiest devices ever in the entire movie, because what happens in the movie is that if you get infected, you end up where you start speaking gibberish or like repeating the same word while staring off into the middle distance, and it's like
Yeah.
you end up
everyone
in a moment
becomes
where
a
you're-
stroke victim. Congratulations. Like, I don't see how that's...
And then the stroke victim suddenly wants to eat your mouth.
Yeah, but it's like, oh my... I mean, I've seen stroke victims do worse,
Listen,
but...
I've seen movies with much more outlandish premises.
You know, if you didn't see the whole zombie effect, like if it's stuck to like a War of the Worlds kind of thing, where you just heard about it, that was to me more interesting. Where when they have the guy Ken, he's the helicopter pilot, but
The
he's not
pedophile.
actually. He's not really a helicopter pilot. He's a guy in a Dodge Dart who stands on a hill and reports the weather.
Yeah.
Which is all right.
It's
That's
a small
funny.
town.
Yeah, it's funny, and it's like okay. And then he reports what's going on, and he's stuck in a silo, and it's that part is scary to me. It's
That part's
it's,
great. I love
it's
that part.
haunting. It's chilling. Where
Grant
he's just-
Massey starts to lose it after.
yeah,
that.
and it's a scary thing. And I was like, okay, this is cool. If they stuck to that, where you don't actually see this zombie nonsense or the firsthand effect of it, and you just keep it from what you're hearing, that starts to have a much more psychological effect. For me, it was more
But
terrifying.
it stays that way though for like the first hour of the film.
Yeah, but then the last
You
half
gotta
hour
breach it at some
falls
point.
apart with this. The zombies are coming in. The doctor comes in and he's talking all this like, oh, it's
No,
through
see,
language.
I disagree with you on this. Is that they do an amazing job of building up to that moment of the place being filled with the zombie
Yeah.
people, because they do it with Laurel Ann.
and it wasn't
Yes.
over the top.
And they
either, I
don't do
thought.
it. They
I didn't
don't
think.
do it insanely when they do it, where it's that moment of like she gets infected, and then they have a very creepy little while
yes.
Yeah.
where it's just her, and so it's just her with one guy. And so many zombie movies do the thing where immediately it's like no zombies, no zombies, no zombies, no zombies, herd of zombies.
Yes.
And I really liked that with this movie, they spend quite a while where you don't see the zombies, and then you end up in a position where you're confronted with one character who you've grown to like,
Yes, of course. She's totally
bashing
sweet.
her face against a fucking glass wall
repeatedly till
until
she breaks her neck.
vomits up her organs.
Yeah. And no, that's
Seems a bit much.
I mean, like
That's what happens when they don't find a victim.
it's
Yeah.
great build up to that, but it's like the letdown is like, you didn't even need that. You could have the way that Ken describes what's going on. Which, by the way, the female lead just sells Ken under the bus. Like I didn't even see
Sydney?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, just cut him off. I'm not going to listen to someone die on
Yeah.
the air. You're like, you were defending this dude 5 minutes ago, even though he's a pedophile.
Well, no,
and now
she
you're like,
just-
let him die. Let him
She
die.
just says, "Oh, Ken, he's a pedophile." It's like, well, not really, but we wouldn't let him near our children. Like, what?
That's a
What is-
pedophile.
What is
That's-
that? That's irrelevant
Yeah,
to
that's
the movie.
essentially-
No.
It's just
that's
completely
another,
weird.
That's another cute little thing though that's thrown in. Just like Grant doesn't need to walk in and have a bottle of whiskey.
No, that makes
But
sense.
it's
If
yeah.
you're
just
on your
little
way
things
down
that
in life,
give the movie a little bit of flavor.
he's a
man.
morning DJ trying to stir things up in Pontypool, Canada. All right, like this, it makes sense why he's
And-
drinking whiskey. I'm
Okay, well, this guy who works in this shitty little Dodge Dart faking a helicopter, he can be a pedophile. It adds to the
That's
story.
true,
It's
yeah.
not irrelevant.
Okay,
not-
it's just
relevant.
weird to me, like the way she just threw it out there. You know, like I felt like it was just written.
that movie made me feel bad for this pedophile because he's getting eaten by a
A kid?
kid, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Hey,
sweet
it was
irony,
a kid. It was
yeah.
a big teenager.
Yeah, the
that's big.
sweet-
So
which-
and so's big teenage boy.
which
Dude,
you
that
wouldn't-
was the creepiest part of the entire
That's probably my
movie.
favorite part of the movie is when
the creepiest part of the
listening to them
entire
die.
movie is when is listening to the kid die,
exactly.
where
And then
you're
Grant
hearing a
Massey, though.
baby's voice come through an
Exactly.
adult guy who's got no hand, like, and they're describing it. That's what I think the movie does brilliantly. Like I said, is that it makes you feel like there is something crazy happening outside of this radio station.
Yeah, but it's like it builds up and to that, and you hear the creepiness, you see you hear what's going on. You don't even see it, and that's what I like. You don't even see it, and I'm a big image fan. I
So
like.
you liked it until you actually see zombies.
Yeah, and then it's just like it's building like dun 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 dun, and then like rim shot dun dun dun.
I don't know. Well, I mean, you got it building because you're hearing it all from the inside. They're safe.
Yes.
And suddenly they're not safe anymore. Now they're confronted face to face with what they've been hearing about all morning, trying to make sense of. You have to breach that at some point. I get it if that's not what you like, but I think you're wrong.
So you're saying the reveal of the monster or the thing that's scary when it finally happens that turned you off. It didn't.
Yeah,
It, like M. Night Shyamalan, like The Village. Like it was just creepiness, and then all of a sudden you're like, this is not good.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, this is the reveal. Like
Now, what would have made the reveal better? Just no reveal?
No zombie. Like, keep that description, build up to it, and then maybe when they're like slamming on the doors, but you don't really see them, and then just kind of go from there. And even the ending is a little flat, where it's
oh
like,
my god! All
we're
right,
like-
I was going to
No,
ask you about
yeah,
that. The
that
ending is
I'm thinking is
perfect to
wrong.
this movie.
did you watch the movie after the credits end,
Yes.
where they come back
I did.
again?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that
Okay.
later. What did you dislike about the actual ending?
Where
to the
it's
film?
just like, the man is sick, stop speaking the language, and then I think I had thought a bomb was dropped on the
yes,
building.
it was. They just Grant Mazzy makes this huge speech. He's finally everything he's ever fought for in his life has now come to him face to face.
Oh my
He's
God.
fighting against government. He's fighting
Yeah.
against this crazy monster that he can't make sense of.
Of course.
People are just killing. Blah blah blah. He makes his big speech, and guess what? 10, 9.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because you're not going to fix things that way.
And then
and the whole place gets blown up. That's what we're assuming.
so
to
that's
happen.
what you're led to believe, that the place blows up, and you're like, oh, well, that was boring, and I think, thank God these characters are dead. But
okay,
then
how would you have ended that movie?
I don't.
You're coming from. All right.
I would have liked to. Good. I'm happy that you're frustrated and upset, because that's how I felt watching this movie. I'm sitting there drinking coffee. I'm brewing a fresh cup, and I'm going, I'm like, oh my God, come on. Like something. You know what?
It's one thing for you to say what you didn't like about the movie, but for you to take these things like, I would have done it this way. You've never made a movie in your life.
I know, but I'm allowed to have this opinion. They painted
know.
themselves into a corner that was just terrible. That at the end of it, you're stuck there with them going, all right, yeah, you know what, the silly zombies and the, like Ned's language, and you're like, I don't even know what to follow anymore. Like something.
You're just slandering it in a bad voice.
I'm just
you're not
bo-
even making any points.
I'm-
You're just like, I just did. I'm
I'm
watching
bored.
it. I
I'm
got my
bored from
coffee,
it.
I'm bored.
from what's happening. Like nothing is at this point. It's just like, okay, they're zombies. They're
So
crazy.
you
they're
did
acting-
like the first hour though,
The
of an hour
first
and
hour was-
36,
it-
but the next 36 completely ruined it because you saw
yeah.
blood and makeup and stuff.
It wasn't the blood and the makeup. It's just like the reveal is just boring. It's nothing. You're building.
No,
this
what you don't like is
suspense.
that the reveal is much more cerebral than any other zombie movie that exists right now.
Cerebral. How?
It's cerebral in the sense that you're supposed to feel for the people. They've made it into a small town where everybody knows each other, and there are people dropping off like flies.
Do they
with the
really
entire
know
thing.
each other? Your
Does
main.
everyone know your name?
Yes.
It's not like
It is that
Cheers.
small. They do. No, they do say
Cheers.
that. They say that pretty
Cheers,
much
the
everyone.
zombie movie.
Everyone knows each other's business. They make a point of saying
If
that.
Cheers was a zombie movie, I'd watch that. That'd
I would
be
watch
so
that.
much
I
better.
would watch that in a
to watch
heartbeat.
Coach tear into
Danson?
Ted Danson. That's what I would like. If Woody Harrelson's character ripped into Rhea Perlman, I would love that. That would be much more interesting.
We would all love that. Okay?
But I mean, it's just like, listen, the first hour is good, the buildup is good, but at the end of it, when you're seeing all that's going down, it's like I'm not. It just feels.
You keep doing that. You're just trailing off.
I'm not
making-
gonna lie. The only thing
you know what it
I'll,
is?
I'll
It's-
give you this. I'll give you this with the action with the action and the interaction with the zombies that they have is that I really didn't like when they are trying to like escape at one point and they go to the top of the stairs and then they get attacked by the little Bedouin, quote unquote Bedouin girl.
Yes.
That's one thing I didn't understand, and I've watched
It's
that
not only
scene.
that it's that I didn't understand it. It's that it was like, okay, guys, now you're like B&B movie. Like
That
you
was-
were
yeah, that
on
was
your
the
way.
height of the
they
B
were
moviness.
ascending to A-level movie, and then it just sort of fell apart because.
Well, you got to know your track, Canal. They were trying to stay in their lane.
It became a typical.
were.
It became a typical zombie movie at the end of it, and that's
I
what
disagree.
I think
Because they
that-
don't know. They weren't. At the end, they're not even dealing with zombies anymore. They deal with zombies for about 20 minutes, 2/3 of the way through the film. And then the last 15 is them dealing with themselves, them dealing with the virus, him trying to help her, them trying to figure out what their next move is, and then the whole thing bursting in on them, and they're dead anyway. Because you know what? They didn't cop out and make a good, happy ending where something gets
I
fixed.
didn't
That was
want-
probably my favorite part about it was that it really just ended on.
How it would go down.
It ended on we're bombing you.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're bombing
I mean,
you
that's-
because we're the government, and that's how it would do.
That's good that it didn't end on a happy
Your
ending.
radio signal that you're sending out trying to fix everyone and save them by spouting gibberish isn't reaching anyone. You know why? Because there's a zombie outbreak out here. No one's listening to the radio.
In the
We're
beginning of the
shutting you
movie,
down.
Grant Mazzy's character is confronted by like this woman who like slams on his window and then just disappears.
Uh-huh.
And then it's like they don't even really kind of get into that. at any other point. I mean, he talks about it briefly during his radio show, and then that's it. And then it's like, was she affected by the virus? Who is this woman?
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
unanswered questions.
But then
she was definitely affected.
Wouldn't
by the
she be
virus.
following him at some point? Wouldn't she like trail after him?
No, because that's not how the virus works.
Like it's noise from his car. Wouldn't she be sputtering that engine noise like da, 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 and follow him? Like I don't.
Yeah, but he's in a car. He would make it. He would get away. That's not how the
Yeah,
virus
but that's not how the
works.
virus works because Laurel Ann didn't stand there and mimic the sound of the teapot and then need to go and fucking beat the teapot to death. That's
Yeah.
not how the virus works.
I'm
Plus,
confused.
if you're,
then.
I know you're confused.
Yeah.
But what about the beginning of the movie where Grant Massey's doing the whole thing about Pontypool, the Pontypool, Honey the cat? What does this all mean? How's it all connected? We don't know. This movie's fantastic because it doesn't answer all the questions. You could do two things when you make a movie: you wrap everything up with a nice bow, or you leave it open to discussion.
Yeah,
this
I
one
mean,
doesn't answer every question.
this
How
is-
does
It
the
doesn't
virus
answer every
really
question.
work?
And
This
it
is like-
also apparently I didn't watch until the end of the credits. I didn't know there was an extra
let's
thing.
talk
And
about that.
apparently I want to know what this is because I haven't had it explained to me.
Oh, here
yet.
we go. The
I'm
characters
very
aren't
confused.
dead.
So hold on. That's not true at
That
all.
open to interpretation.
The credits go, and you hear more radio broadcasts, and apparently bombing that station and the quarantine that the French government is trying to impose didn't work. The virus is spreading regardless. The credits finish, and then we see this weird black and white scene with Grant and his main Sydney,
Yeah.
and they're sitting in like this Eastern restaurant,
Yes.
talking like they're spies.
Like they're Kill Bill characters.
yeah, like they're Kill Bill
Like,
characters.
it's just like
and it only lasts.
Oh, man.
It's like maybe a 15 to 20 second scene.
most of it's gibberish.
and then it's kind of gibberish, which
Yeah.
alludes to the movie a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he at one point says like, "We got to get out of here." Pulls a gun, and they say something very slick, and then it just goes black. That drives me nuts.
Right? You
drives
see what
me
I mean?
super nuts.
Like it was just like, what is this?
But I don't think you should judge the movie based on an after the credits.
Well, and-
I didn't judge Iron Man based on.
Well, after
Samuel
the
L.
credits
Jackson
has to
showing
do
up
with like the
afterwards.
next movie, or we mean when they're in the falafel restaurant eating like falafels?
That's Avengers.
That's
That's
Avengers.
Avengers.
Oh,
Haven't seen
okay.
it.
But
And I
that's
judged that movie based on that scene, and it was brilliant.
yeah, it's
Okay.
that's like cutesy, but this is like what is going on?
Why did they take the time and money to shoot that scene? What
I
do you
don't
think?
I don't know.
And you were annoyed by that,
More
right?
questions. This movie felt like 2 episodes of Lost
you don't
taped
like
together.
you don't like having to think about movies.
No,
do
I
you?
love
You're like, I
thinking-
want all the answers.
You know how much
presented.
thinking
This
I
is-
did after Deep Water? I spent hours Googling stuff.
You also gave yourself a couple days to Google stuff.
Yeah,
instead
that's
of
under-
watching the movie 10
But
minutes before the podcast.
it's
true.
That's understandable, but a documentary that's based off of real life, so there's a little more of an interest because these
this
are
could be real life.
That's true.
Yeah, no. And then the cool thing I did like is when the radio announcer was just kept on repeating Pontypool, 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 and that's
At the beginning of the movie?
No, at the end of it, the one of the radio announcers, the radio broadcasts that were going out. So it's seen that the virus had now spread
Yeah.
more than they thought. And I thought, like, I'm on my way here, and I'm just thinking about just like if the movie kept on going. Now they're like they have like armed guards at schools, and they're teaching everybody Chinese. And I'm like, this is what's gonna go down now. We're just gonna abolish the English language, and this is how it is. And it's just like, I mean, I like questions at the end of a movie. I just thought that it was the first hour built such an amazing amount of suspense, and then the last 36 minutes unraveled it to a bunch of like, this
I
is
don't know.
boring.
I disagree.
This
When
is
they're stuck in that
this
room,
is
they're just writing on the
typical
walls, and
zombie
they're
nonsense.
typical zombie nonsense.
Yeah.
There's not even any zombies anymore.
There's really
they're stuck in a room going
see, this
nuts.
is the thing is that I can understand the lack of suspense that you end up with because you do end up in a position where you're worried, where like they're stuck in a room essentially, and it's
Yeah.
a lot like other zombie movies. But I won't go for that. There's the typical zombie nonsense because, like, my favorite thing about this movie is that there's no moment in it where out of the 6 people that are left alive in the entire fucking world, there's one guy who's been bit, hasn't changed yet, and is gonna hang out not telling anybody that he's been bit for an hour and a half of the movie, and then no, he's gonna come back. Like that's every zombie
Yeah.
movie
If
I've
the
ever
movie
seen.
was
They didn't do
half
anything
an
like
hour
that.
What
longer.
were other zombie movie cliches that they performed in Pontypool? If you're saying it's just like every other zombie movie, which I'm saying is the total opposite. That's why I don't even like saying this is
Laurel
a zombie
N,
movie.
their whole thing of just like running at you, stomping away, just like
Yeah, there is
smacking her
one
head.
time where a zombie runs into a wall
You're
and
making
tries
a
to scare
terrible
people.
case for this
Yeah,
being
you're
like
just-
every zombie movie.
No,
man.
it's like that's what happens. Like she's running into the wall, she's like smacking her head against against the or like
Yeah,
coming
she's
at
not,
you.
She doesn't have like a brain anymore. She's basically reduced to an animal. She's
Yeah.
trying to get through this glass, but
Yes,
she's just hurting
that's in
herself
every
the process.
zombie movie. That you see that in every zombie movie where they're just
Because
like.
well, you're saying zombies are behaving like zombies. I'm
Yeah,
not saying they are zombies.
You're asking me if this
what
if they're-
tropes? What are the like zombie movie tropes?
this whole herd mentality. They're all coming at you, smacking at the doors and whatnot. Like that's another
Zombies
zombie.
behaving like
It's an
zombies.
outbreak.
Yeah, like an outbreak. World War Z had where they're just like smacking against the gate and coming at you. Like it's that one
So
zombie.
you're just
who-
tired of zombies?
No, I'm not tired of zombie movies.
Because
I-
that's zombies behaving
That's
like
just like-
zombies.
yeah, that's
that
essentially
you
you're tired of
asked me
zombies.
for-
Vampires?
You
Would that
asked
have-
me
if
for
Pontypool was about
typical zombie.
vampires?
You asked me if this movie had typical zombie
Werewolf.
I mean,
characteristics.
Troy-
What if,
I mean-
what if it was Pontypool werewolves?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, cliches
man.
are like Steven said, the guy who's bit but he doesn't tell anyone, and then it fucks up everyone else.
I just gave you two
That's every-
cliches.
You know, you gave two
No,
examples
you gave
of
two
zombies
examples
behaving
of
like
zombies.
But that's the cliche part of it. You want to do a zombie movie
Those
and not make
zombies
it
were
cliche.
that was a zombie thing that was in Shaun of the Dead. Like you can't.
Yeah, this is it. That's the cliche part of it, man. That's the typical zombie
So you wanted
behavior.
zombies that had like guns?
No, I'm
and
not saying.
Would you? So you would like? Yeah, you would like
And
zombies
kung
that are
fu
like.
moves.
I'm
yeah,
not
kung
saying
fu
Kung
zombies.
fu zombies.
I'm not saying like sexy zombies with cleavage.
I
I'm
think-
just
I
saying
think-
Sexy. That's called zombie strippers. They made that movie.
that would be. You know what? I'd find that a lot more interesting than what was going on towards
A lot
the
of
last half hour of
vapid,
this movie.
shallow, hollow shotgun statements coming out of Casey Aurora
So
this
just-
yeah,
episode,
it's
ladies
not-
and gentlemen.
it's-
What's the message of this movie?
the message? Oh, I don't
Because
know.
most
It is a
most
B
zombies
movie.
tend to have that movie.
Speak
It's
French.
fun.
That's the
Speak
message.
French. I mean, it seems like it's in support of censorship, is what it seems like. That's the whole point of the movie.
Well, one of the tagline on the movie, which I love this tagline too, is "Shut up or die," which is interesting.
That's a good tagline.
and they do say that. Sydney says that at one point because Grant wants to get back on the radio to try and save everyone by confusing them by spouting gibberish, and she's like, "We shut up or die," and they talk and they die.
They used the tagline.
They use the tagline in the
Nice.
movie. Nice.
That's always a sign of a good movie.
I just, like it's.
I'm not saying it's the best movie, but I'm saying it's not like a lot of other movies.
Mhm.
That's the thing. I think it's very original.
It's
Even if they
uni-
do use zombies,
it's unique.
It's very original.
It is different. The first hour, I think. Is,
You know what you might like more, Casey? Seriously, they did two versions. They did the movie,
Yeah.
and then they did a 58-minute radio play using the movie because it's so dialogue heavy that it's 58 minutes long. It's on YouTube. Maybe you should watch it.
I mean, that might be interesting to me. I just think that the first hour of building suspense
This
is
way you
great.
don't see any zombies running into walls, and you're like, "Oh, here we go again."
Yeah,
Zombies
it's
running into walls. I
like-
can't enjoy this.
You just hears people in the radio play banging walls.
It's like,
Yeah.
come on, I
You know,
can't escape
it's
it.
not. You know what? Fine. If you feel like this is just the way I feel about this movie, is that like it turns into like you're doing something unique, you're doing something different, and then you're not anymore. And that's my problem with the movie. You're doing something interesting. You're building a lot of suspense, and the whole air when they're listening to what Ken is recounting, as he's in this silo trapped. It's like, okay, this is cool. And you know what? You didn't even see what's going on. You don't. You're just hearing it from this guy who's about to get killed in a desperate situation.
But you like that,
and
right?
I loved it.
Okay.
I did. I thought the first hour was fantastic.
You should watch the radio play. Listen to the radio play.
And you know what? Then it just sort of falls apart into this typical, because they could have not shown you anything. They could have gone into this, like you don't see anything, and it could have stuck to that War of the Worlds type thing, and that would have been interesting. And I thought that would have been all right, well done, more artistic in that way. But then I guess it felt like they needed that. They bring in that zombie behavior, the smacking on the walls, the zombie running into the glass, and then it's like, all right, cool. And then the language aspect was interesting, but I just didn't like it. Towards the end of it, I was like, this movie is, you're like 2/3 trying to be one thing and then 1/3 another, and then that sort of
From
falls.
dusk till dawn, they dusk till dawn.
I don't remember that movie enough to agree with that, so I can't say that. But
well, and I think that because I mean the question was brought up earlier of like what's the meaning of the movie to a certain extent.
and what do you think?
And
the meaning
I
is?
think that the meaning of the movie essentially is that words hold weight and words hold meaning.
Yeah.
And then the other end of it, because they talk about how it's like it spreads through not understanding something.
Yeah, it's not just saying the word.
It's not
like,
just saying the word. It's that
realizing
there's
what the
like
word
this end of
means.
that. It's like realizing what the word means, or like not being able to understand
So
it is
it-
the thing that helps
are
to
they really
spread
just
the
saying
entire
ignorance
thing.
is
Hold on,
bliss?
the producer's
No.
dying right now.
I'm just asking. I may not know this fact for sure, but doesn't most of the world understand English for the most part? Not everyone, but
No, it's not that.
majority.
It's not. It's not understanding it. It's like not. it's essentially that if you I don't know whether I would say ignorance, but it's just an inability to understand is the thing that spreads this disease that destroys the world. And I think that that's actually one of the things that it's trying to say, is that it's trying to say not communicating to each other in a way where we actually understand, using shallow, stupid language, using things that we don't, where it's terms of endearment, where it's I love you and you're great and you're adorable. All those things are that's the type of thing that as human beings will destroy us as a people.
See,
is sending forth
that's a
that
very
kind of thing.
that I kind of like.
I
That's
hate you so much right
That's
now.
very
Casey.
interesting. I like that idea where it's just like you don't need useless qualifiers or useless jibber jabber. A lot of jibber jabber is what the movie's trying to say. Don't talk the jibber jabber.
Well,
yeah.
I think the point of the movie is definitely a shot on...
I just want to say, if Mazzy said that at the end, like he looks at the screen after the credits and he just looks at everybody holding that gun and he goes, "Don't talk the jibber jabber," I would have loved this movie.
that would have totally ruined
I'm
the
not
movie
gonna
for
lie.
me.
If he did that, I would have loved it just for the absurdity.
Yeah.
That would have made as much sense as that after credit scene, though, if he did that.
Yeah.
That after
But it would have
scene-
been better than the after credit scene you guys described.
Oh, it was awful. It's like somebody else had written and directed that.
Yeah, you got to watch it. It was weird. And then it slowly turns into color, too.
Yes.
What does that mean?
I don't
know.
even.
I don't know what that
I
means.
don't know. I would say
Maybe
that.
they're just in heaven, you know? Maybe they're about to go and get it on. That's
true.
But it's like they're at a Chinese buffet. I don't know what's
No, it's
going.
much classier than a
It's
Chinese
much classier
buffet.
than a buffet. Well, I just don't think that I didn't like the movie
Okay.
overall. I think
Casey didn't like the movie overall.
I would not stream
Casey
it.
didn't like the movie. Dennis doesn't like Casey. It's all
It's
okay.
all relevant.
It's all
really.
crossing streams.
Yeah.
That's it for this week's
Would
episode.
you, so you would say you'd watch it, right?
Yes, 100%, if that wasn't clear throughout this
Mm-hmm.
entire thing.
Sorry, what?
Do we stream it or die?
Stream it.
Oh,
Die.
Stream it.
Stream it.
I would say stream it just to not die.
Stream it just to see if you agree with Kanal. And if you agree with Kanal, if you agree with Casey, never listen into this again, ever. Because I don't want those kind of listeners. No, I'm just
You know
kidding.
what? I'm a man of the people.
This was a great episode for discourse.
I pity the fool who don't talk that jibber jabber.
What's our stream next week, Casey?
We're gonna be watching Old Boy, Spike Lee version.
I'm gonna get you back so bad next week for picking this movie.
What, you're gonna pick Mulan? Let's do it.
All right, that's it for this week's
No,
episode
we're gonna do
of Crossing
Mulan
Streams.
2.
Have a good night.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Jibba jabba.
Good one.
Bye.
Jibba jabba.
Good one.
Bye.
Jibba jabba.
Good one.
Bye.
Jibba jabba.